The Awesome Physio YouTube channel. Today we're looking at why am I getting pain in my shin. So in clinic we get a huge number of individuals who are really into running or high impact sports that are reporting pain over the shin area, and for a lot of people it can be incredibly debilitating. It can stop them in their tracks, it can stop them from doing their exercises, it can even impact how they're moving, how they're walking day to day. So today obviously there's lots of different conditions that can cause pain into the shin area. We're going to be talking about our top 3 that we might see in clinic. Number 1, we're looking at medial tibial stress syndrome or shin splint. So this is when someone is presenting with pain over that shin area, over the front of the lower leg. Very common among athletes, high impact sports. So if we're thinking about runners, 20% of runners experiencing this condition. It is predisposed if you've either had it before or you're suddenly changing how you're training, and it's commonly seen as an accumulation, micro trauma, micro damage to the area around the front of the lower leg. So there's 2 theories of what actually causes the pain. So number 1, pain is secondary to inflammation of the periosteum, the bone of the lower leg, so the tibia, due to traction or pulling from the soleus or the tibialis posterior muscles. This can cause pain local to that area and excessive soreness when using that leg. Another theory is bone overload injury into that tibia, so over time again causing that pain and sensitivity over the front of the lower leg. So what are some of the characteristics that we might see with this specific condition? So pain typically in that lower 2/3 of the leg, around the front, around that tibia. It tends to continue after ceasing exercise, although in the early stages that can really help with the pain, where it tends to decrease after exercise. As it progresses over time, once you stop, obviously you get that reduction, but it tends to linger. You want to differentiate it from compartment syndrome, where we're getting that excessive pressure, redness and swelling. So it's a lot more kind of localized around the front, maybe not as intense, but feels like a real deep ache into the front of the lower leg. So what might we typically see on physical examination in clinic? So we would feel definitely tenderness over the muscles around the front of the leg, around that tibia as we're pushing down, tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, tightness into the soleus and the gastroc, so around the leg as it's compensating for that movement. So you think if someone's had it for a while, different muscles are going to tighten to help to accommodate for those lower leg mechanics. We might have a flattening of the arches in the foot as we're dropping either to get out of pain or a secondary symptom of that soreness, and definitely tightness around that Achilles as well as the person's changing as they're moving. When we're testing, so like I said, palpation, we want to reproduce the pain on palpation, but also if we're getting people to hop or use that leg as they're dorsiflexing or plantar flexing, so the movement into the lower body, what they would find over time is it really starts to fatigue, starts to cause soreness and trigger the pain that they have been experiencing. So what we'd be looking at in terms of management of this injury is initially looking at that rest, that ice, reducing the pain and soreness around that area, and definitely activity modification. So making sure that we're allowing that area to heal. What we would then want to look at long term is gait analysis, biomechanics, so how that's moving in the lower body, running retraining, so it might be working with any kind of running specialists or people that do more stuff with the biomechanics of the lower leg, potentially working with a podiatrist to look at the orthotics and the support into the feet. So working with lots of different people to ensure that when that person goes back into activity, they're running properly, they're building it up gradually, and they're not going to re-trigger that injury. So it's really important, if you're struggling, to get it assessed properly, get the proper diagnosis, and most importantly, which is what we would look at in clinic, is ruling out any other worrying concerns around that area, which might include a possible stress fracture or pressure into that leg that we need to have a second opinion on to make sure this person is safe to manage, but also that we're getting the right treatment for them. Secondly, we're going to be talking about stress fractures into the lower leg. So it's really important to talk about this. So particularly stress fractures to the tibia or the fibula, so the bones of the lower leg. So with athletes or runners, potentially this could occur. So it's when we're getting either an overuse injury, so something that's building up over time. So it sometimes could be quite hard to distinguish between that stress syndrome that we spoke about previously. Some of the defining factors is if someone's had it for a while and it's getting worse over time, even when they've rested or altered or changed the activities, they might be presenting with this pain that's just not going away. It typically tends to be a lot more local, so where the site of the fracture might be, obviously deep into the bone, it might be a lot more local, potentially a little bit more pinpoint, but again, there might be tightness around where you've been compensating for the pain. We might get a little bit of swelling, potentially local to where the fracture is. Like I said, it tends to get worse from activity. So if someone was coming into clinic and they're presenting with these different features and it's incredibly intense with the pain, you would want to send them for further imaging to x-ray into the leg and just make sure that there's no stress fracture. So they need to be managed properly and as quickly as possible, because what you don't want to happen if the stress fracture is left, if it gets worse and worse and worse, that it ends up turning into a complete fracture or damage or significant damage into those bones. So really important to refer on as soon as possible. Number 3, the final condition that we're going to be talking about, which is very common in clinic, is actually referral from injury in the lower back. So there's lots of different injuries to the nerves as they come out of the lower back and go down into the leg, but a really common one that we might see giving a weird sensation or pain into that lower shin area, that lower leg, is something called nerve root compression. So this is either looking at your L4 or L5 nerve roots, so the lower levels of your lower back as the nerves exit the spine. This could be triggered by inflammation or damage to the joints of the lower back that turn and move the body, the facet joints, or potentially injury to the discs in those areas, pushing out, potentially prolapsing, compressing that nerve. So what you would find is it wouldn't just be pain in the lower leg, there might be other symptoms going on into the back as well. So they might report potentially it's starting in the back, worse for certain movements, that then refers down. How the pain would present is we're looking at the dermatome distribution. So all that fancy word means is the sensory part of the nerve, so i.e. the area of the skin that nerve root supplies. If we're looking at L4, it's on the inner side of the lower shin, L5 on the outer side, and then S1 right at the lower part of the lower back into that sacrum, the outer side of the foot. So people tend to present with quite a specific defined area in that lower leg. They might report the sensation of burning, altered sensation, numbness, tenderness on palpation, but what you might find is as you're palpating the muscles around the area and you're testing the power, absolutely fine potentially, but it's that weird sensation over the leg. So again, a very muddy picture, but what you would normally find is aggravation of symptoms with the lower back as well as altered sensation in that area. So what we'd look at in clinic is full movement into the lower back, testing that area. We'd want to test the nerves of the lower body, so looking at different kind of stress tests, looking at power, sensation, reflexes, so testing all of that to try and map out what might be triggering the pain. And then with regards to management, it's looking at the onset, which might be slightly higher, improving movement into the lower back, as well as looking the mechanics into the lower body to reduce that sensation into the lower leg. So the management is slightly different, but again, you want to work out why has the pain come on, can we prevent it from coming back again, and managing those symptoms long term. So if you're struggling with pain into the shin area, what we would always recommend is getting it assessed properly. They'll then, by a musculoskeletal expert, they'll then be able to direct you into the right place or where you need to go. So whether that's speaking to one of us or being referred to the GP or to another specialist, we'll be able to find the right treatment and management for you.